All I've been doing is getting paper up here.
All right, next up, we got Animal Care and Control, Director Dickinson. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kay Dixon. I'm Director for Franklin County Animal Care and Control, and you are my favorite commissioners in the state of Ohio.
Which one? Which one?
Three of you.
Oh, she got it. We haven't heard that.
So with that being
Hi,
said,
Kay.
we'll start. Good
How are
morning.
you?
I'm great.
Are you going to call her any names,
She's my
Commissioner?
favorite. She's my favorite animal care and control.
Oh, sure.
Today,
Today.
No, in the entire state of Ohio.
in the entire
state of Ohio.
The
state.
country.
The greatest ethical test that we're ever going to face is the treatment of those who are at our mercy. So thank you, Commissioners and County Administrators, for understanding the importance of funding a budget that enables me to provide the best service to the people we serve and superior comfort and care to the dogs entering our facility. Keeping with the Commissioner's core principles, providing community safety, security, and effective justice will be the essential as we focus on education and providing other resources to enable families to keep their pets. The goal is for staff to become a point of contact for citizens anticipating the need to rehome their family dog. Staff shall be trained in alternative resources and programs, simple behavior modifications, such as house training, food aggression, anxiety separation, and preventative health-related problems. In addition to keeping the public safe through ensuring dogs in our county are vaccinated and licensed and vicious dogs are off the streets and accounted for. In addition to a great place to find your next family pet. The University of Wisconsin-Madison Shelter Report suggested several things, and this is kind of it in a nutshell. Interventions focused on assisting people to retain their dogs is a successful way to reduce shelter intake and create a pet-friendly county. Elimination of unattended overnight drop boxes and implementation of intake appointments are only a step toward achieving success. Implementing open adoptions while providing the best enrichment and mental care for the dogs while they await adoption is the fastest road for the dog finding its forever home. Educational programs, promotional material, and promotional events must be new, exciting, and ongoing in an effort to continue our efforts in making Franklin County not only a safe place to live and play, but a pet-friendly county. In 2018, the University of Wisconsin was commissioned to provide recommendations and training that would further support Franklin County Animal Care Control on the path to becoming a model of excellence in progressive animal sheltering. Several recommendations were made, some of which were implemented in 2018. Recommendations in the entirety can be found on the Franklin County Animal Care and Control website. Intake diversion. There we go. 2019. Education, redemption, volunteer / education program in lieu of redemption fees. What this is, one of the things the Wisconsin report recommended was when people cannot afford to reclaim their animal, that we just give it to them for free. So that we're not holding on to the animal and we are not tasking our rescue community or trying to get the animal adopted out. Well, another thing that the Wisconsin report emphasized was education. And one of the biggest things is we don't want to turn into a hamster wheel where the dog keeps coming back. And we already have a diversion program when we're citing people into court for no license and dog at large, where they can attend class in lieu of fines. So in 2019, we'd like to implement an education or some volunteer hours for people that are coming in to redeem their pets and they can't afford them. Then we would like to offer a class for them so that we can give them some education on what the shelter does, why it's important to keep their dog at home, very similar to what we're doing with the education for the deferred program. Also a volunteer, they would rather do volunteer hours at the shelter if they can't afford to get the dog out. Also maybe come up with some type of a payment plan. Also we do reduce the offer, we offer reduced spay and neuter, reduced reclaim fee after that, and reduced microchipping in an effort to get the dog returned home a lot quicker. One thing that was also mentioned in the report was to offer reduced basic medical preventative care, and the goal is education to keep the dog from entering the shelter to begin with. Animal care, medical, health, and physical well-being, the 5 freedoms, intake exams, treatment plans, dental, radiology, and surgeries are things we all do there at the shelter currently. Play for life, treat buckets, and daily enrichment and activities are things that are currently going on there at the shelter and have proved quite successful in 2018. Our shelter is very fortunate that we have a wonderful working relationship with many of the veterinarians in the greater Columbus area, and our dogs only receive the best care there while at the shelter. We recently did a promotion there at the shelter on the 5 freedoms, and we got a lot of positive feedback through that while we promoted it through social media and other means as well. That way we are trying to educate the public, at the same time educate our own staff and volunteers and some of the other animal welfare people that we work with. In 2019, these are some things that we're going to schedule moving forward. Our scheduled staff to walk dogs as part of their daily activities and their daily responsibilities and duties. Cage side monitoring was one thing that was recommended in the report. Some things we're going to look at is using iPads for real-time documentation. The Wisconsin study recommended that we have paper there. I'm not a big fan of having a lot of paper around, especially in a dog shelter, for a lot of reasons. So there's usually a lot of water, a lot of commotion, things get dropped on the floor and get soiled very easily. So we're going to be looking at some other ways we can accomplish the same goal without using paper. We have switched to the sanitation rescue, which is just environmental friendly. We are going to need to purchase a mixing station as we go into 2019. There has been some training in 2018, and staff is on board with using it, but we need more of a written protocol and some formal training to go along with that as we go into 2019. And we need routine scheduled staff meetings. There have been some staff meetings, but we need them more on a routine basis, and as we go into these meetings, have some notes taken that are formalized that we can share with people who maybe weren't able to attend the meetings. And real-time staff supervision for our kennel attendants is something we're going to look into as we go into 2019. Rescue and foster care. Just to date, in 2018, there have been 707 dogs rescued and 297 dogs fostered. The number of dogs rescued and cared for in 2018. Thanks to the rescue organizations, staff who foster, and all those who advocate and network behind the scenes. In 2019, each dog listed for rescue only, I'd like to begin tracking the underlying issue in hopes to identify and target preventable factors. Look at the bigger pictures in hopes to prevent tomorrow's rescue only list. Why did they get there to begin with? Is it majority behavior and medical, or is it both? And try and target that. It's important to recognize, improve, and strengthen these relationships. It's only with the community support that we will achieve tremendous victories while setting the platinum standard for animal sheltering. And I do believe that transparency builds trust. And as we have been so far in 2018, there's just been a lot of transparency, speaking with the advocates and the people that network behind the scenes, and we've had just a wonderful working relationship. In 2019, as we move forward working with rescues, we do need to establish a full-time rescue coordinator position. It is way too much work to put on to somebody who's already carrying a full-time job there. We do need to establish a written agreement between Franklin County Dog Shelter and approved rescue groups. And we do need to establish medical resources for rescue organizations, and this was also mentioned in the report. And one of the reasons this is extremely important is because, rescues, a lot of people that work in the rescue community have full-time jobs in addition to this. So it's very difficult for them to not only sometimes come and transport the dog just from the shelter to the foster, but then again to another medical facility to get whatever minor ailment, that we could easily treat there. at the shelter at low cost for them. So it's something that I agree with in the report that we need to establish for the rescues as we go into 2019. 21,561 hours. If we could just take a second and look at that number. That's just in 2018 to date. Hours our volunteers have logged so far. We do, going into 2019, need to implement better software so it's easier for them to log their hours, because I'm positive there's hours we've missed and not captured. Also, going into 2019, I really think that we need to host some kind of an annual appreciation banquet, not only for the volunteers, but for our rescues and our advocates, because it's something we all do together, and we could not function without these people. Absolutely, positively could not. So that is definitely two things that I think we should really consider moving into 2019. And although we tell them, as I tell them, and a lot of staff does as often as we possibly can, how much they're appreciated, I think really formally acknowledging them would go a long way, especially from the people that feel it but don't get the opportunity to see them every day. Adoption. In 2019, moving from adoption applications to adoption conversations is going to be a win-win for everyone. There is a fallacy out there that if you go to welcome or open adoptions, that means you can't deny anybody, and that's not necessarily true. It simply means that there may be a situation where now isn't really a good time to adopt somebody, but that takes place in a conversation and not necessarily as no, you can't. And that's where it's a culture shift more than a training issue. And we're working on that now, and we will achieve it in 2018. It's just going to take a little time, and it does take a little more time when you are looking at an entire culture. But we will get there in 2019. We will implement policies that remove barriers, adoption counseling that relies on open and easy conversations, that we will set up success. And we'll develop marketing strategies that overcome the barriers, and we'll train staff and volunteers to deliver the program. The Humane Society of the United States has tremendous training programs, webinars, everything that's free to us and available out there, click of a button, that we'll use. But in order for welcome and open adoptions to be successful, there has to be follow-up. And we find that to be very useful a couple weeks after adoption with an email. And typically, we get not just thank you for reaching out. Sometimes there's a little bit of questioning about housebreaking, or if an animal has lost some fur. We can answer those questions or refer them to our veterinarian staff. They're simple questions. But we also get a lot of really, really good pictures that they want us to share, showing the success stories. And that's really good for staff morale and everyone. So we definitely need to, as part of the adoption process, start a follow-up with that as well. Staffing. In 2018, we have added the second assistant director position, and there has been a job offer accepted, and her first day will be December 3rd. I'm very happy about that. We also hired a new assistant director, Mr. Harold Young. He's already started, and he's very busy today, so he couldn't be here, but I'm very, very thankful for him, and I believe we work very, very well together. It's been very challenging, rewarding, and exciting over there, so we're very happy about that. And in 2018, 2019, we'll be filling key vacant positions such as the public relations officer, and hopefully creating the rescue coordinator position and real-time supervision for kennel attendants. Something else we'll have to do looking at 2019 is just reorganization of the entire animal control division with the addition of these key positions and some of the changes that we're looking to make in accordance with the recommendations from Wisconsin. Field services. It's pretty simple. We're going to educate when possible and enforce when necessary. It's really all that needs to be said there. Again, that's a culture shift, but if they remember these two things, it's not that difficult. Field services, again, we're going to have an emphasis on locating the dog owners before bringing the dog to the shelter and educate. Post found dog signs, which we did when I was here in 2015, but this time I want to post them, but I also want to have a UPC on there so anybody with a smartphone can just go up to it and it will take them directly to our website. Because if they found their dog or they didn't find their dog, and may want to adopt a dog, that'll still take them to our website. Or if they found their dog, it will give them some educational things about how to secure fencing, where they can get a dog license, when we've got microchip clinics and some other things there as well. And maybe let us know that they found their dog or take the sign down. It'll offer other resources. It'll give them some information on our low-cost spay and neuter programs. Another thing I'd like to do going into 2019 is research some other computer programs versus what we're currently using. I personally believe we've kind of outgrown the current software that we're using. I won't know that for sure until we go through procurement, put it out for bid, and take a look at what is out there. And that'll be a process that the entire staff will take a look at. But I would definitely like to look into that as we go into 2019. Public relations. In 2018, we have a reoccurring radio spot. We now have reoccurring TV spots on 2 different channels. We have daily and weekly social media posts, which are all inclusive. We do live Facebook now, and again, that's about transparency. That's why we do that. We did have the Home for the Holidays promotion, which is going on right now. That's been extremely successful. We're very, very happy about that. We had over 65 host families for Thanksgiving, and out of those, 35 dogs were adopted.
That's
So we're
great.
very happy about that. The Holiday Family Volunteer Opportunity is being promoted as well. We have had a few people come in and volunteer for that. We're going to try and promote that a little bit more between now and Christmas. And we have been attending a lot of the local social and charitable events. We would like to get out and do a lot more of that. And again, public relations is vital to educating the public on where we are, what we do, and how we can all work together to make Franklin County a pet-friendly county. Another thing I'd like to look at going into 2019 is obtaining some sort of a mascot and help with the branding of Franklin County Animal Control to set us apart from other animal controls in the county and the nation. There are other Franklin County animal controls in the nation. Which if somebody goes to Google, you may have another state come up, and I think it's important to recognize who we are here in Ohio. Again, here's some things that we've done and we're going to continue to do is social media. We would like to engage in some offsite adoptions and engage all stakeholders as we go into 2019. We want to embrace and expand what we're doing on social media. We would like to take one of our vans and wrap the vehicle to advertise. It's essentially a moving billboard. It's multi-purpose. It can be used for many events in addition to off-site adoptions and parades. Definitely is more eye-catching than just having an enforcement vehicle out there. And then I've got a few slides here that you can see. These are just some points that the University of Wisconsin, Madison recommendations. And the black is things that are planned for 2019 and beyond. The green are things that are in progress, and the red are things that have been accomplished. So I could read these, or we can just take a look at them. And again, this report is on the website if somebody wants to look at it in its entirety. And a lot of these things that are mentioned in here I have gone over in this presentation as well. And then thoughts from the director. Just some early observations that I've had, been here the few months that I've been here in 2018. Some things to improve operations as we move into 2019 and above or beyond. Again, we need some updated computers, computer equipment at the shelter. We need updated animal care and control software. We need some public relations equipment. A lot of the interns and personnel are using their own personal cameras, videos, and phones currently. So we do need to purchase some of those things. Safety equipment, radios, transport vests. A lot of the dog walkers, the volunteers are out there walking dogs at night. We've got a beautiful place to walk with the sidewalk and lighting. But my fear is at night when it's dark, if they were to fall out there, some of them use their own phones because they don't want to carry, we don't have walkie-talkies. Some of them would like to carry a walkie-talkie, but either way, if they fall and they call in and the dog has ran, it's going to take a while to find them. With a vest or something, if it is reflective out there, it's going to be quicker for us to go out there and find where they are. Those are just some simple things, but we do need some more safety equipment out there for the volunteers and the staff. Again, off-site in adoptions, and to continue the engagement with the Citizens Advisory Committee. We've only met a couple times since I've been there. It's gone very well. I've enjoyed our meetings with them. So, and another thing that's not on here that I was just thinking of as I was sitting in the back, we are looking at working with the Sheriff's Office with some programs that's going to be really exciting going into 2019, and the Probation Department as well. So those are some things I'm pretty excited about that I think will come into fruition as we go into 2019. And then to share our success, the great state of Ohio is a pet-friendly state with many animal advocates and those who want to work together for the greater good. Franklin County Animal Care and Control is committed to transparency, helping and doing our part in sharing information in an effort to continue to set the standard of excellence in progressive animal sheltering. With that, if you have any questions.
I really appreciate the engagement that you're having in the community. It's been a really good time since you came back and Harold's on board, that people are feeling good about having their animals gotten from the shelter. And I think that's important. You know, we sometimes focus on some of the negative things that may have occurred in the past, but there have been so many positive things, and a lot of our animals in the shelter get adopted. Most of them do, and get returned to their original owner. And I think that's important to note. And thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, to join in to thank you for you transitioning into an office sort of mid-season, if you will, if there really is a season, is always difficult, and I think your transition has been as smooth as it can be, and it looks like you're getting your bearings really well. I do have a couple of questions, though. You brought up the University of Wisconsin report. One of the recommendations in the report was, I didn't hear this one mentioned, and you could have said it, and I missed it because I got stuck on something else, but one of the recommendations was an upgrade of the dog cages themselves. Where is that in the budget? Is that something you're looking at?
Well, they made a couple of suggestions in there. One of them was on the real life rooms, and in order to upgrade those, we need lower numbers on our intake. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how much of that we can do in 2019. We are definitely focused on education and keeping dogs out of the shelter. But I am going to be looking at the real life rooms, and as numbers go down and as we can, making 2 of those for 1 dog. So when there's times that we need to clean or we need to move the dog over and we're not able to walk them for whatever reason, we're doing really well with walking them and getting them out, we can still safely go in there and clean them without scaring the dog or even having the dog in the way for the kennel attendant to be able to clean. So I think it's something gradually we're going to move to instead of just saying, okay, we're taking this ward and we're going to take it over.
Sure.
I think it's going to have to happen gradually.
Okay, well, keep us posted on that. And
Yes, sir.
really, I think all of the recommendations is just something that we should monitor and be very mindful of. We spent quite a bit of resources, and it's taken a lot of time. And, and you've taken this very seriously and started to do a lot of things, but we want to make sure that, we do as much as we can to adhere to what those recommendations were. The other thing I wanted to just talk about for a quick second was you mentioned the safety needs of volunteers and staff. You mentioned the jackets if someone falls or something like that. I just want to say, I think I speak on behalf of my colleagues to say that's a priority. And whatever we can do, safety is one of those things that you just can't compromise. And whether it's the volunteers or the staff, and so it sounds like you've got what you need, and you're aggressively heading that direction, correct?
Yes.
And so I just wanted to reiterate that the safety is a critical part. And then finally, the Citizens Advisory Board. Being the newest commissioner, I kind of came in, and that was the thing when I was running for election. That was going on at the time. And it was one of the major recommendations. And I have to be honest with you, I don't think it's gone as perfect as it can. And so it's good to hear that you've had a couple of meetings under your belt. You feel that it's progressive. I know we still get a lot of feedback from a lot of the volunteers and folks. And so I just want to say thank you for continuing to be engaged with that group, because they can be a resource if we allow them to. And so it's got to sort of level out over time, with the right folks and the right mix of issues and whatnot. But it's good to hear you say that you believe it's going well. So I want to comment on that.
Okay, I'm struggling to think of the the exact piece of legislation, but I know that there's a proposed piece of legislation right now, and my staff might remember what it is. There's a proposed piece of legislation right now in the House that if I'm not mistaken, the dog wardens association has weighed in on. Are you familiar with it at all? No, it's okay. It's at some point I want to talk to you about it. It's come before, and as I speak, Lauren walks in the room. It's come before my committee at the County Commissioners Association of Ohio, and just this past meeting within the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and they asked for us to weigh in, and what we did was because we hadn't had a chance to speak with you guys about it in our respective counties, we didn't take a position at the past meeting, and they'll want us to at the next. So I'll have to get with staff and talk to them about it, and maybe get with you to see where you guys are.
Was it reference licensing?
I cannot recall. I don't think so.
Okay.
It was not. I can't remember off the top of my head. It came up, because we hadn't had a chance to speak with you guys about it, we said, let's not take a position on this at this point. We'll get back to it. And so we decided not to take a position. So I'll have to get back to you about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any further comments or questions? No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next.